Can you feel the page turning? Can you feel the chapter ending? Can you feel the breeze of time whispering the universe's path for you into consciousness? How to describe the ethereal sand that flows through the body when you catch up with your path. You can see the bricks but not the layer. A moment with so much confidence of the main character that you're taken aback when you don't meet the narrator. You lay the bricks. Arrange them how you will. Find, make, set aside the bricks. You decide what to do with the materials. I wrote this 3 years ago, it looks like, according to my notes app. And it's funny how it's hitting again, and I wrote it at a different time of year. And so usually I think that I go through the same emotions around the same time of year based on the seasons and everything. But I wrote that one in the summer, in June or July. I can't remember. Although I guess if I'm thinking about this year, I have been feeling so strongly that time is passing and things are changing. I am in Seattle now. Oh my gosh, that's not stable. In Seattle now. I couldn't sleep since like 4 this morning because I was adjusting. Well, because I've been on the night shift. And exhaustion for one day can only take you so far in resetting your circadian rhythm. It feels like, if I remember correctly, from 3 years ago, I feel like I could feel that things... Oh, that was when I was moving to New York. Oh, wow, that's interesting, because I'm comparing a lot to how I'm feeling right now, of just trusting the process of this path that it feels like has been prompted to me, that have just been kind of like, okay, sure, like, I guess that will work. And how every time on that path, I had to trust the process, even when it didn't necessarily, it seemed like these things were supposed to happen, but I wasn't sure of how. And so obviously that was scary, because I don't live my life in a small way. And so trusting the process of something when I'm not sure it's going to happen, I mean, yeah, that's scary. We're humans. We don't do well with the unknown. But it feels really funny to be here in Seattle at this time. Like, on my 6 months, on my first contract on the boats, we came through Seattle because our offices are based out of here. And I went out by myself and I bought my first pack of cigarettes, LOL. And walked around the city, and I went to a karaoke gay bar, and I just remember walking around and just feeling so free, because no one knew who I was, and I could be anyone who I wanted to be, and I didn't know anyone, and it was just completely unattached and just like freedom of like energy of space and everything like that. And it's again, I'm back to the point of where I'm like, okay, I don't know who's laying these bricks. I don't know, it's interesting the difference. I'm reminded of this feeling, but it's also heightened because I feel like I've gotten better at surrendering, trusting my intuition to lead me where I need to go. I say that we lay the bricks how we want them. And I do still think that's true, but I don't know if it's the truthiest truth. I'm testing out, I think, a new truth right now. Now here I am back in this city, about to, like, plunge into, I mean, what feels like a good representation of freedom, of the great wide unknown, into cultures that I've never been to, where I'm not going to see anyone really. Well, some of it I will, but there won't be that many people that look like me. and all the cultures will be entirely different, and we know so little about them. And it's just funny to be back in the city where I learned to appreciate anonymity, and I think started an addiction to it to prep for a trip where I don't know who I'm going to be when I come out of this, like in the biggest way that I've ever said that, and I've said that a few times. I'm on an intersection, and it's 9 a.m. on a Monday, so traffic. It's funny now noticing this feeling through doing this podcast, how it comes back, and now finding another pattern, although I probably would have found it without the podcast because that's the way I think. But the line in the poem that's like laying the bricks with so much confidence of the main character that you're surprised that you don't see the narrator. And I feel like that those moments where you're making decisions and you're becoming a self and you can feel it happening and you can feel yourself changing, it's like the goo phase that I've talked about before, where you're inside the chrysalis and you're gonna come out as a gorgeous butterfly. And we do that a million times. Oh yeah, so I wrote down invisibility of anonymity to freedom of expression. I think when you're still figuring out your voice, and when you're still, again, this is just what worked for me. But when I was still like figuring out who I was and who I want to be and everything like that, falling into the invisibility of anonymity was very helpful because it gave me that like dark closet to explore everything that was inside me and like explore it and work to understand it and figure out which parts I wanted to embrace and which parts I needed to leave behind. And then now that I'm comfortable with myself and now that I know who I am and who I want to be, I am going to, obviously I'm expressing myself through this podcast, but I've always been an expressive person, but now that I know who I am, and I'm not going to apologize about it anymore, or I'm not going to feel guilty about it anymore, I can express it, and I can feel free to do that, and the freedom isn't in not having a reaction, not having other people have a reaction to it, but it's in just knowing that I'm going to do it. And I'm going to deal with the repercussions of whatever happens, but I'm going to have my back and I'm not going to sacrifice myself for something anymore. Because like when you're confronted with a blank space, like creativity is born out of boredom. Like the mother of invention is necessity, you know? Like it's like you need this wide open space that's begging to be filled with something, with you, to figure out what you want to fill it with. That makes sense. And it's invaluable to have people in your life that throughout consistent like relationships, like they let you they still give you that space to change. They still give you that space to explore who you are and who you want to be. Or you can just not have anybody consistent in your life, and then you'll always constantly be changing and no one will ever know who you are, and so there'll never be like receipts to hold against you. But that's not a way to grow. It's not typically a way to grow. We have to have people to work together. Humans are community beings. As much as we want to forget it, as much as even me, as much as I even still want to just be able to do everything myself. I love being a DIY girly and pick myself up by my bootstraps. We're still human and we still need people. And all of this, like finding a place to be anonymous can even just be, or like finding the space to be anonymous can even just be like doing a new hobby, like just creating the negative space, the void space to expand. And in order to do that, I mean, sometimes that does mean letting other things go. I mean, letting go of the ways that you were pretending, letting go of the self that you wanted to be. I saw a quote recently that was like, just go ahead and make peace with the life that you're not going to live. And that's been like one of the hardest things for me to make peace with, because I feel like for so long I've just tried to I just want to be normal. I don't really want to be anymore, but for so long I just wanted to be normal. And I don't know what that means. Everybody has their own idea of normal. Like, I think I'm pretty normal now, but arguably people would not say that. But like, I wanted so badly to just like want the traditional path. Like, I wanted to want it because it's already there for you, and like it's set out and you can follow it and you can fill those blanks in pretty easily if you know how to play the game. But I don't want to play the game. But it was still hard for me for so long to just even accept, and I think I'm still in the process of accepting this, like, just like all of the little things that like I know I'm not interested in, and I need to stop apologizing for not being interested in, like, or just like that's not going to be part of my life. I was listening to Seisman's podcast about mirrors, or she was going on about mirrors and how body dysmorphia is at an all-time high and how cameras are different. This is all her information. How cameras are different now, and so they don't have mirrors in them, and so it's a less accurate perception. And just thinking about how technology has changed over time and the way we have studied the self has changed over time. Like, as it's gotten closer and closer, i.e. how the mirrors have gotten closer and closer, i.e. how your phone is right in front of you and you can take a picture of yourself at any point in time. I feel like the study of the self and the inside has also followed the same trajectory. So how the study of the self, like that, the reality, physical reality of mirrors and the way we perceive ourselves has changed, and now it's being reflected in the mental reality of all the people not understanding what they look like. But even that we're asking this question, I feel like shows the mirroring of like the study of self being so much closer in this generation. And then that makes it feel like it's like what we're supposed to be studying, like that it's just even coming up at all. Because change happens, we change the way we think about things, everything like that. And I feel like that also leads to a better sense of community. By everybody understanding themselves more, they understand what part they can play in the community, what part they can play in life. Yeah, that makes sense. Balance. But also it's so like insidious how like having that path, like having a societal standard, so traps people from ever really like knowing who they are and doing what they want to do, because there's such a, and also like, I mean, it's scary to venture into the unknown and like not know what you're doing and not know who you are, and really face those questions of what you actually want to do and who you actually want to be. So it makes sense also why so many people want to follow the script. But I also think with the way that we respond to fear, which it makes sense why we do. It's literally a survival instinct, but now it's like those survival instincts are being used on like, oh, like what color dress isn't gonna ruffle some feathers at the party, you know? Like it's just completely not important stuff that we're using the same thought process or like the same hormone responses for. And it's just like there is no fault in the end. Like, yeah, you might have some hard days where you're trying to figure things out, but honestly, on the other side of that freaking out about all of this stuff, like, there's so much more peace. Honestly, like, thinking about my coworker who was just doing like so much fear mongering. Like, I'll give the example. It was like he had traveled to South Africa and Rwanda in like the 90s to do like some conflict resolution work down there because they were having all of the civil unrest. And like when I told him I was going to Africa, he was like, oh my gosh, like there's so much bad stuff that happens there, and like most of it doesn't even get reported, and the stuff that doesn't get reported is so much worse than like all the stuff that does get reported. And like he was telling me this like in the dark on the bridge, like while we were driving the boat at night, and in my head I was just like, shut up. And then he like even did the same thing essentially for like my flight when I was leaving. And that one was a really funny conversation, which I was also wrong about the flight time, but he asked me what my flight time was and I said like noon. I was like, yeah, I probably won't leave until like 10:45 because I knew the airport was tiny and not very far away, and I would rather hang out with my friends than just like wait at an airport. And so I was like, yeah, like that'll work. And he was like, yeah, you won't need much time, like it's a pretty small airport, like security won't be a thing. I was like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then he was like, well, have you ever missed a flight? And I was like, oh yeah, definitely. And he's like, well, then you could always get there earlier. And I was like, why? And he's like, well, just in case anything goes wrong. And I was like, you like all this insurance, like da-da-da-da. And I was like, I don't want to live like that. And he was like, well, that's on you then. And I was like, yes, it is. That's my responsibility. I am making that choice. And there's there's plenty you can say about it, but it's not going to change my choice. He is such a scared man, so insecure. I hope he never listens to this podcast. But yeah, it's like, you have to do it scared. Like, you can't, the fear isn't gonna go away. And also most of the time, you're just scared of the unknown. And honestly, the unknown, filling in the blanks from that, has turned out much better than I ever could have expected every single time. Like, when I get like an idea, a sign, whatever, to like go somewhere and do something, and I don't know what it's gonna look like, I don't know who I'm gonna meet, like there's all these variables that I don't have. That has always, typically turned out, like 9 times out of 10, been the most like magical, beautiful experiences that I honestly, like, thinking about like working at the hostel in Italy and how the host and his girlfriend had broken up literally the week of 7 years, relationship 7 years long, had broken up the week before I got there. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, this might not be good. But I waited, and honestly, it was one of the most beautiful, peaceful months of my life. When I was thinking about leaving because I was scared. And it's just like making a decision out of fear is never gonna be the most accurate decision. Like, it's never gonna lead to the result that you want, because it'll lead you to more fear. What you put into something is what you get out of it. All those cliches are annoyingly true. But I don't want to put fear and worry into my experiences anymore, which means there's a lot of open space for my brain to fill. If I don't want to have these anxious thoughts anymore, and I try to redirect them, which is great. It gives me more analyzing time, creative time. I feel like I've tried to make a conscious decision to worry less. And I already wasn't much of a worrier, but it feels different now. Like, I'm being logical. I know what I need to do, and I'm gonna do it, and I know I'm gonna do it, but I'm not gonna worry about all the things in between, because like, they will get solved. And worrying, I think, like, your thoughts create your reality. If you're thinking all of these bad thoughts, you're just gonna attract those things to you, or like they're more likely to happen around you. And so, like, your thoughts create your reality. Whatever you're looking for, it will be proved. And ever since I've started looking for, or just like being open to there being more good things, all I see is good things. Like, obviously there's still interactions I have, like with that guy that I work with, that obviously show me a reality that I don't want to exist in, but I feel so much more settled in like refuting that and trusting myself and trusting that I know what to do and that I'm gonna figure it out if I haven't already. And it's just like, I have no idea what's gonna happen, and I'm really working on a short timeline of plans, but nothing's gone wrong yet, and I've not had a bad time yet. I've been flying by the seat of my pants, and I actually just found a hole in my crotch, but that's not the seat of my pants. And I have a sewing kit at home, or not at home. My home, my backpack, my checked backpack that I don't have right now because I'm sitting at the airport. My backpack home. Oh my gosh, I'm really tired. I'm so tired.